Yeah.
Mr. Brown, how you doing today, sir?
It's good to see you, man.
Always good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
How you been?
Been doing well. Just riding the roller coaster of life and business.
Aren't we all,
Yeah.
man? Man, we've been knowing each other for quite some time now,
Yeah.
right?
It's been a while.
Yeah, how long has it been now? Almost 10 years?
At least, yeah, I think so. I think I met you briefly off and on, and Tahira met you,
Right.
and then really got to know you when you started working with her. But we've been around each other for longer than we've been working together, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think the first time we met was, it was, like I said, almost 10 years ago. We actually came by the house. It was me. I was working with another group of people that was, at the time, working on a documentary. And I think they wanted Tahira's input on it. And at that meeting, I kind of fell back and was like really quiet, wasn't really saying that much. Yeah, we'll just leave that project right there where it was. But yeah, I think that was like the first time I met you guys. And then, like you said, me and Tahira just kept running into each other over the years. You know, I was working at ABC 3340 and actually did like a couple of stories with her, you know, and during my time there.
Right.
And we just kept crossing paths, staying in contact. And I just remember I was out one day and I ran into her. It was like somewhere off of 280. And I ran into her. And at that time, I was getting ready to transition and make that move from, you know, working for 3340 to, you know, my own production company. And I seen her and I told her about it. And she was like, really? And she was more, I think she was more excited than I was at the time. So it was just funny, man. And
She had a plan for your future.
I guess so. She already had some plans for me. And, you know, just things just kind of, you know, snowball from there, and you know, friendships and, you know, relationships developed, and, you know, we're all family now.
Yes, we are,
Yeah.
all the way. Yeah, I remember her talking about you, and really, really admired what you did, and just everything about you. So it's been really a blessing to get to know you, and now to be able to work on projects together is like a dream come true, definitely for me and for her. I've always loved the movie industry for many years, even though most of my background is in accounting and finance. But I fell in love with movies probably when I was a little boy, and just watched so many times what was going on, looking at a lot of old movies. I can't wait to kind of kick around to see what movies you remember from probably when I was coming along. But I know we've talked about a lot of movies over the years that you know about that I wouldn't think you would know about. These movies that I looked at back when I was in college and through those times. But how long have you been interested in the movie business?
Oh my gosh, it's like, you know, now you're trying to age me a little bit.
Uh-oh.
But, I would say at least about probably 15 to 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I knew like from an early age that I wanted to work in TV and film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me backtrack. I take that back. I used to be an artist. I started off as an artist. You know, I used to love to draw. Never was a painter, but I used to love to draw. So I used to think, growing up, I thought that I was going to be like a cartoonist, or, you know, work on like cartoons or comic books, something like that, because I used to be real big into comic books. And so, like, when I went to school, like I attended Alabama A&M up in Huntsville. I actually started off as an art major.
Wow.
Right. And, you know, kind of fell out with one of my professors and was looking for an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was sitting in my dorm room, and like one of the guys that stayed in my dorm came into our room, and he was talking about this class he had where they were making a commercial. I said, making a commercial? You know, I'm from a small town down south called Andalusia, Alabama, where we know nothing about TV and film. We don't have classes like that. You know, so I was like, man, that sounds interesting. So I eventually changed my major to communications with a concentration in video production. First class I had was a film production class. And everybody said, professor never gives out A's. He never gives out A's. And at the end of the semester, I was the only person to walk out of that class with an A.
Wow.
So at that time, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I wanted to be in TV and film. I wanted to work in TV and film.
That's amazing.
And that just kind of started the whole thing. I just remember my first project and just being, you know, nervous about it, but it was just like something that was natural with, you know, and every project that we had, people always wanted me to be the camera person, you know, because it was just something that was natural. So
my mine was kind of entertainment industry. It was really, I think the music industry kind of got me at first. I was actually, I was playing the clarinet in the fourth grade and singing in choir at school. And from the fourth grade to the ninth grade, I kept playing clarinet. And then I kind of ran into the same situation you ran into. I made a C in music, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've made A's and primarily A's all my life. And then here I am in the ninth grade making a C in music. And from that point on, I started focusing on business. And then as the years went on and got into college, I really started getting interested in not just looking at movies, but actually understanding the business side of the movie industry. And that all went on all the way through college and even after college. So I really developed a burning passion, but at the time, there wasn't that much happening in Atlanta. But from that moment on, I really got excited about the possibility of having some type of exposure. For many years, I didn't think I ever would. What's the oldest movie you can think of? What do you think is the first movie you remember seeing?
The first, you know what? It was probably like Jaws 3 or something like maybe it was Jaws 3. I remember my parents taking me to the theater. Like, we all went to see it, and I actually had like the poster on the wall. Like, I was really young though. Like, I remember having the poster on the wall, us going to see that movie, but after that I couldn't sleep at night. I was having nightmares and I had to take the poster down. So yeah, because I kept seeing the shark on the wall.
Man.
Yeah, I wake up screaming, "Mama!" In the middle of the night.
Do you know who the director was that? Of that?
Well, not for Jaws 3, but I remember Steven Spielberg, who was like one of the people that I completely look up to.
Wow.
I know he did the original
Yes.
Jaws, and that's an all-time classic there.
They say
Like, actually, if you look like back then, I thought that Jaws 3 was like one of the greatest things ever because it was in 3D.
Right.
Back then, which was pretty awesome. But looking at it today, it's like very bad. It's a very bad movie. But yeah, the first
They
Jaws
capitalized on the original success.
Yes, the first Jaws was an excellent movie. The
Yes.
second one was pretty good, but the first one is definitely classic.
And then Francis Ford Coppola, he did The Godfather.
Godfather.
And he really encouraged Spielberg to focus on commercial type movies. Oftentimes when you focus on commercial type, it generates more revenue than your art house films and that type of thing. So it kind of worked out in his favor. Can you?
Yeah, because it was one of the first blockbusters.
Yeah,
Jaws was actually one of the first blockbusters.
As was The Godfather.
Right.
And Godfather 2.
And The Godfather is seen as, like, by many people as one of the greatest films ever made.
Absolutely.
Godfather 1 and 2.
Yeah, I could watch them over and over again. That's really my favorite.
Yeah, you got to set a day aside to watch them.
Oh, yes. You got to block it out. Then do you know who played Michael Corleone?
Of course. Al Pacino.
Oh, man.
Come on.
Yeah, I love that. And I love Marlon Brando. I actually have been watching a lot of the TCM movies. And it's amazing how many movies were out when I was in high school and college.
Right.
Probably not even old enough to go see those movies. So it's amazing to look back on movies that were around when I was, between the ages of 12 years old and 20 years old.
Right.
That are really, really good, very well done. I'd love to see a lot of that type of style come back.
Right. And you know what amazes me? You just talked about Marlon Brando and The Godfather. Something that, and blockbusters. We talked about blockbusters earlier too. Something that ties kind of into that, as well as what I was talking about earlier, as far as like my love of like comic books and all that kind of stuff. Another big blockbuster that came out was Superman the movie.
Wow.
That starred, Marlon Brando was one of the stars.
That's right.
He actually played Jor-El, Superman's dad.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I think he got maybe like a $3 million contract.
Wow.
Which was the largest at that time for like someone who wasn't even the top star of the movie. But because he got top billing, that allowed them to get a lot of funding from Warner Brothers to put that movie on. And Superman went on to gross and become one of the highest grossing movies at the time. And, it's still, to me, an all-time classic. And it was written by Mario Puzo.
Wow. And what's interesting is a lot of people feel like they're confused about, how to finance a movie and different things. But you just made a good point about how even back decades ago, it was very important to a studio to have the right people cast, and the money they paid. That $3 million today would be a multiple of what Brando got paid. But
Oh yeah,
regardless,
it's
of
all
whether-
about who's attached.
absolutely, it doesn't matter whether it's the 40s and the 50s or the 21st century or the 22nd century. From a business perspective, it's always going to be that process
Right,
of kind of putting everything together, both on the creative and the business side.
right. Because I mean, if you think about it, once they cast Brando, everything else fell into place. They cast an unknown at the time to play Superman.
Yeah.
Which is Christopher Reeves, who went on to be an icon and legend, and on his own.
I love what the Irwin brothers did by casting Dennis Quaid. You know, his career
Right,
was not doing that much
Right.
until they did I Can Only Imagine.
Right, right. And then, like you said, everything else fell into place.
Now I noticed he's in another movie that's coming out soon. I forgot the name of it, but he's doing commercials now. But it's amazing how, and the same thing happened similar to John Travolta when Quentin Tarantino cast him in
Right.
Pulp Fiction, right?
Right, he had a career resurgence now. So, I'll tell you, one of I'm pretty big on special effects, especially now. Like now you have, like we were talking about, we have blockbuster movies. But one of my all-time favorite movies, and it was way ahead of its time to me, is The Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
I go back and I watch that movie every year, and I look at what they were doing then as far as special effects, and it still blows my mind that they were able to do something like that back then. And I just love. I'm like really big in storytelling, and I mean just the story flow, the acting was great, and it was awesome.
I love music.
Tale.
I love music, and I love the fact that a movie like The Wizard of Oz, you have a major song that I'm not sure if it was a hit song then or if it became a hit song, but that music and the other songs that are sung throughout the movie make the movie what it is. And even the background music on the scary scenes when the animals are involved and they're coming after the girl and the dog. I mean, it's just amazing how music and colors, like them going from black and white to color when she got to where the Munchkins and everybody was. It just all the things they did. When I think about a movie like The Wizard of Oz and even Godfather 2, it's like a masterpiece. It's like you're looking at a painting by Michelangelo that they really put so much into it. And I guess really another movie that I watched Saturday, kind of similar, is the Ten Commandments. The people and not as much as the music, but the acting and just the drama and the narration is real big in that one.
Classic movie, yeah, classic. That's another one you have to have a whole day
Exactly.
to sit down and watch. Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this: like, we talked about like dramas and blockbusters. Like, what is your favorite comedy?
I think one of my favorites is Napoleon Dynamite.
Really?
Which, I know that's a favorite with much younger generation, but it kind of reminds me of when I was in high school and not fitting in, but the way that he talks to his mom and his brother and uncle is just hilarious to me.
That is.
So that's
funny. I would have never figured Napoleon Dynamite, but that's a good one.
What's your favorite comedy?
Mine is actually Coming to America.
Wow.
That to me is like a classic. I can watch that movie over and over again and laugh just as hard as the first time I ever watched it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was a huge Eddie Murphy fan. Probably watching it when I shouldn't have been watching it, but it was just like that's a all-time classic for me. Like I said, I can quote it line by line from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think that's my all-time favorite